What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Supergirl Season 4, Episode 7, Rather the Fallen Angel. So, there were some good moments in this, but also not necessarily, I wouldn't say there were any bad moments, but I just feel like there were some moments that didn't really lead to much of anything. And the main story that I'm thinking about when I say that is, of course, Lena and this kid that she was experimenting on, Adam. Um, I don't know, like, it seems weird just because like she's going through these experiments. She was trying to avoid learning anything about this kid because she didn't want to get attached in case things did go wrong. But then ultimately she did get attached. She did form a connection with this kid, and then he dies. So I'm just like, I felt like we were getting a lot of characterization. Like, I liked the characterization for him. When he was telling the story about what happened to his brother, I felt it. But then he just dies. So I'm like, what was the point of that? And it's not like Lena's gonna stop doing the experiments because of this. I don't think. It feels like it's a reason for her to be sad about what she did, and I don't know. It just seemed kind of pointless to me. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe something else will happen because of what she went through. But to me personally, just watching that story, I'm just like, okay, what does this lead to? The kid dies. She's sad about it. That's it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Everything to do with the rest of the story, though, not too bad. It was pretty interesting. We see Manchester really going all out to try to catch, Lockwood, Agent Liberty. He even sacrifices Supergirl in this one, which I'll admit I kind of wish she hadn't figured out so early on. Like, I don't know. I was hoping he would get to be a little bit more of a rogue. But it seems like he was just doing whatever it took, to get her involved, which means now she knows what he's doing. She knows that he's going rogue and doing things a lot more seriously than, he's willing to kill people to get what he wants. So now I feel like she's going to try to stop him. And I don't know, I really liked kind of the intensity of the character. And like I was talking about in the last episode, like normally would not fit into a show like Supergirl. He fits more in a show like Arrow, but because of where this season is going, I kind of feel like he fits pretty well. And I mean, he's definitely a different type of character, which I've enjoyed so far. But yeah, that kind of it made him seem more like a villain than a hero in this episode. And while I don't think he was a hero before this, I didn't really see him as like in opposition with the group. But now it feels like if Supergirl has a chance to stop him, she will because of what he did in this episode. I was really hoping it was going to be something where like he turns her in, but then all of a sudden she realizes that he gave her a way out type of thing. But no, he decided at the last second, since Agent Liberty betrayed him because he realized the truth about him. At that point, then he's like, oh, well, I guess since you didn't make good on our deal, I guess I don't have to make good on my part of the deal either, and shoots the power dampening thing so Supergirl can survive. I don't know. It makes it seem more like he was ready to let Supergirl die, if they had given him Agent Liberty type of thing. And I don't know. That makes him a little bit less likable in my eyes, which is disappointing. So I don't know. We'll see where that's going. We do see Lockwood. He has his new show, where he gets to spout whatever he wants to, and basically get away with spreading lies. So that's, I don't know what that's for, but I assume that's going to help his cause a little bit because he's going to be able to spread more fear amongst the public. And then aside from that, you got Jimmy. He was taken thinking he was getting an interview, but then Agent Liberty tells him to blow up the Supergirl monument on TV as Guardian, and basically, say he's willing to help the children of Liberty. But then, of course, whenever he finds out that Supergirl is in the monument and is about to die, that's when he's like, no, I'm not going to do this. And even, the guy who's trying to help Tom manages to fight back as well. So, but yeah, I personally, and maybe this is just because I'm used to watching shows where there's a lot more tactical thought process going into what's going on. For Supergirl, it doesn't feel like that. The DEO is based on tactics, and Alex and the team, they try to set up tactical approaches to situations, but you don't see them coming up with long-term plans. It's always, all right, where do we need to go, who do we need to find, what do we need to find, and that's kind of it. When you look at like the Flash, they're always looking to try to think 3 steps ahead. Arrow, they're willing to lie to each other to try to get the job done because they'll keep certain things from the team that they're using to try to get the job done. With Supergirl, it feels like that never happens. And I feel like this is a situation where it could happen. Kind of what Manchester did, but not obviously in a situation where he's just like, yeah, I'm willing to let her die as long as you give me Agent Liberty. But I could see them doing this with James. If they would just talk to him, if they would confer with him beforehand and say, hey, they seem to really like you, they want to use you as something to look up to, let's have you infiltrate their group. Let's have you get in there, figure out what's going on, and yeah, we'll let you blow up a few buildings that are, blow up the Supergirl monument. It's fine. Like he says, you can always build up another one. So, I don't know. I feel like they're missing an opportunity here to let James infiltrate the Children of Liberty under the guise of, yeah, I'll help you guys. Like, you know what? I've been friends with Supergirl for a while. I've been friends with Superman. But, I've felt helpless at times. I totally get it. And just going in under the guise of, yeah, I'm going to help you. I feel like that would really give them a lot of information that they could use. But of course, I don't know if Lockwood would go for that. So I don't know. It's kind of a dual-sided coin. Like on the one hand, I don't think Lockwood would necessarily believe Jimmy is turned since he knows him personally. But if he just goes in with the idea of, you know what, yeah, if you don't hurt Tom, then I'll help you out, then I could see it working a bit better. But of course, they don't think about that. They're just, I don't think they're very not smart. Tactical, I would say again, tactical seems to be the right word to use here. They don't seem to think very tactically whenever they come up against situations like this. It's always just sort of going off the cuff. Whatever solution presents itself in that episode, we're going to use that solution and that's it. I rarely see them going, aha, we tricked you. We made you think one thing and then something else was actually going on. In your face, bad guys. So anyways, with all that being said though, it was still a pretty decent episode. Just I need to see more of where these stories are going to find out whether or not they actually have a point or if it's just sort of happening to bide time until the next thing happens. But that's it for this one, so now on to the next one. See you there. And now episode 8, Bunker Hill. So, after what happened last episode with Manchester, it kind of pushed him down a little bit in my eyes. Just as far as like his character, I felt like he became too much of a villain. But this bumped him back up. I mean, just that whole scene where Lockwood shows up at his house and he realizes he's there. He plays it so cool. And he's still a bad guy and he's still doing things that obviously are wrong, but it's hard not to love watching him work. Like, it's perfect. So yeah, but yeah, the fact that he ends up in prison, not too surprised. The fact that Lockwood ends up in prison and people are more like, upset about that. I'm not too surprised about that either. What I am surprised about is the fact that the president ended up turning into kind of a douche. I don't know, just like when they first spoke, when he and Supergirl first spoke, I was kind of worried. It's like, okay, so the president that everybody loves is stepping down. This new guy is stepping in. Is he going to be the kind of what I thought about the general, coming in to oversee the DEO? Is he going to cause issues? And that's what I was worried about. And then that first interaction between him and Supergirl, I was like, actually, you know what? He seems like a good guy. Seems fine. And then at the beginning of this episode, all of a sudden he's complaining about his poll numbers. I'm just like, really? So you're doing this with him? You're going to make him a guy who doesn't care about anybody but himself? Like, we didn't get that sense at all whenever he first started. And now all of a sudden that's who he is. I don't know, it just feels like, I guess he could have been hiding who he was since he was first starting out as president. But I don't know, it seems more likely they just needed him to be the bad guy here for a second. And tell Supergirl she's not allowed to work for them anymore. Pretty much work for the U.S. I'm like, okay, sure. Like, you can stop Supergirl from saving lives. Come on. but I don't know. It just seems kind of like it's. I'll admit Lockwood does bring up a good point when he brings up her secret identity, but for the president to come in and be like, actually, he's got a good point. Why don't you tell us who he is? I mean, my family's in Secret Service. I know there are a lot less people probably trying to take me out than you, and a lot less powerful people trying to take me out than you, but it's the same thing, right? Like, you should totally share your secret identity because, hey, we need you to. And I don't know, it just seemed kind of forced to me. And of course, she doesn't, which, she shouldn't have to because, hey, she's been saving their butts for, I mean, as long as she's been active as Supergirl. So, yeah, I don't know. It seemed, like I said, it just seemed a little forced. But I mean, overall, this episode was good. Nia Nal finally has a purpose on the show, which is good. I knew something with the narcolepsy was going to come in. Like, why? And it's because she doesn't want to fall asleep. And then she does fall asleep because she apparently has prophetic dreams. I don't know what all that's about. Brainy apparently knows about her. But yeah, so she's been having this dream of what happens in this episode. Part of the problem is I feel like we should have seen hints of this a little bit more, aside from just the fact that she sleeps all the time. Like, I feel like it would have been better if we had been seeing this a bit throughout the season. So now when we get to this episode, it's like, oh, this is what the dream was about. Instead of we see the dream in this episode and then we see that moment. It's kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There was a season where they did something like this where Daisy saw the death of somebody and it was like, oh my gosh, who could it be? And then the closer and closer you got to that moment, like you see all the little things that are leading up to it, and then you finally get to that moment. It's like, oh wow, that was insane. With this though, it's like we didn't get any sort of hint of this was coming, but yet they still wanted to, they had that moment where she's like, wait, this is it. If we had been along the ride with her, we would have felt that too. But instead, they just sort of played it like, hey, you guys should. Oh, that dream that you saw earlier this episode? Yeah, oh, it's the moment now, guys. Oh, are you excited? Not really. We just got introduced to this at the beginning of this episode. So, which also was kind of weird because there was a moment where we saw Agent Liberty pointing the gun at her. Never happened. So, I don't know if that was just something that was supposed to keep her scared and realizing this was what her dreams were about. I don't know. Maybe that'll get explained later. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was enjoyable. The one thing that I'd actually forgotten to talk about in the episode where they were, when all the enlightenment or whatever it was called, like whenever they're going around trying to kill all the aliens, the one thing I did forget to talk about. So Brainy, for me, I've talked about how he's not comparable to Win. They're trying to make him the new Win character where he's making all these cracky remarks. And they're also trying to play up on the idea that, oh, he's a robot, so he doesn't understand human connection, which means he doesn't understand sometimes, which just doesn't really work. I don't know if it's his delivery or if it's the writing, but just something about it doesn't quite work. The only time it did work was when he and Win were, working together, and then they would like bounce ideas off of each other and they'd bounce jokes off of each other, and it was funny. But the one thing I will say that Brainy has going for him, his fight scenes are awesome. Like the one in the episode where they're fighting off all of the Children of Liberty trying to kill the aliens, and he the way he delivered the line before, he's like, I will be forced to beat you all up with physics. It wasn't great, but then all of a sudden, like, you hear this kind of classical music playing and he starts just dancing around while everybody's trying to hit him and stuff. It was pretty awesome. And then, of course, in this one, we see a little bit more of it. It was only one quick scene, but the lady with the gun, like, comes up to him and you just see him kind of, like, slow-mo dodge and kick the gun away at the same time, and then he puts the ring on her finger at the same moment. His battling is so graceful. It's fun to watch. So that's the one thing that Brainy really has going for him. But other than that, I don't know. I'm not a big fan, just because he pretty much has taken over Win's position. But it's like Win was hilarious. He was a great character. He had a lot of great moments. And Brainy's just kind of here. Middling character. Doesn't really do much. His jokes don't land most of the time. Eh. But anyways, with that being said, though, this is the last episode I have to watch before I get over to the crossover. And yeah, they really did show the same scene at the end of all three of these shows. I was so confused. Like, at the end of Arrow, like, I heard the explosion. I'm like, ooh, what's going on? And I realized it was Earth 90 again. I'm like, oh, is this the same? It is the same scene. And then at the end of this one, explosion. I'm like, oh, what's going on with Russia? Is there going to be something with Russian Supergirl? And then all of a sudden it's explosion, Earth 90. I'm like, oh, they're doing it again. Okay. But anyways, that being said, though, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 2 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Supergirl reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.